All right, welcome back to episode 9 of the Heated Exchange, brought to you by Blitz League. It is another glorious day here in Bloomington. Jett, how is it in Tampa?
It's going well in Tampa. Excited to be back for another episode of the Heated Exchange. 9 episodes, we made it this far, and we're excited to continue pumping ahead. But yeah, so episode number 9, Austin, I want to tell everyone what we'll be getting into in this episode.
Sure thing. So first, we're going to briefly cover last weekend's league, Blitz League, recap our winners, our losers, and we'll look forward to this week a little bit, see what's going on there. Next, we're going to talk about one of our favorite segments we're going to do on this show is called Are You Buying the Hype? We're going to briefly go through a few players that have been playing either really well or not really well, and we're basically going to outline if we think that's going to continue or there's going to be a change in pattern. Next, we're going to briefly preview Thursday Night Football. It is going to be a great game this week, but we will get into that later. And finally, probably my favorite segment of the show, we're getting to our bold predictions for the weekend, and I am so excited to share mine.
I am as well. And yeah, so let's get right into it with our first segment. We're going to look at the Blitz League to see what happened this past week. Austin, now he is 3-1 after falling last week, and there's only one undefeated team left. Jack is 4-0, and then in Division 1, we have Chaz leading that division with a record of 3-1. Unfortunately, I did lose again. I'm now 0-4. It has been a rough start to my season. A bunch of guys that honestly have just been underperforming. I have some guys that have showed up, but the majority, it's been tough sledding for me for the first 4 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know what that's like. Seriously, how are you doing mentally? You okay?
Honestly, I'm not doing okay.
You don't look that good right now.
Yeah, it's been rough. I mean, last week, if I would have played Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields, I would have won. But I went with the matchup, and I didn't really trust Trevor Lawrence on a Thursday night showdown with the Bengals. But obviously, I was wrong. But going forward, I'm going to try to make some deals with some of the other guys in the league to see if I can rebuild my team, retool my team in a certain way that potentially I can start climbing back up to first 500 and then maybe make a run for the playoffs. I know it's unlikely. But Austin, what's your mindset going forward? I know we're different positions right now, so.
Yeah, well, I'm not in a depressed state right now for fantasy football. I actually have a winning team. Last week was my first week I lost in the league. It had to happen at some point. What goes up must come down. I'd never expected to go undefeated. But this week, I'm looking back to get on track. I love my matchups this week. Kyler Murray had a kind of an off game last weekend. It was James Conner's game last week against the Rams, but I expect my team to really perform well this week. I'm projected, I think, the most points in the league, and I'm expecting a W this weekend. I know you cannot say the same for your sorry squad. No offense.
No, I think this is the week I finally get a W. I know it's no matchups are given, but I do like how my team is coming together for this week. We'll see now that Justin Fields is named the starter. I think I'm gonna probably end up going with him again. See if he can start figuring it out. A nice matchup. Well, it's an okay matchup against the Raiders, but we'll see.
I feel like we go through the same routine every week with you. I feel like it's the same thing. This week's the week. 4 weeks later, and it's going to be 5 weeks later. You're still going to be winless. But I love that giddy enthusiasm. I love it.
We'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna just start giving up and saying I'm gonna start losing every game, because how would that?
No, you just shouldn't say anything at that point.
Yeah, so that's why I think honestly, my confidence level in my team is not that high, but I think this is the week I finally get it done. So I'm looking forward to hopefully getting on the win column this upcoming week.
Well, let's break away from the Blitz League for a second. Let's go to our league, our home league, because this week is a very special week as me and you are matching up against each other. And to make things even more special, it is rivalry week, meaning our points will be doubled at the end of this week. I get to play for the second time this year in a separate league, and I am very excited. I'm feeling very confident this week. Jett, but please tell us, how are you feeling about your team this week?
I'm very excited to be playing you. I have a good history against you. I do have a winning record against you, like I've mentioned on this podcast before. My team is dealing with a few injuries. Joe Mixon, we're not sure if he's going to go this week. Logan Thomas was just placed on an IR due to a hamstring injury, but next man up mentality. I picked the Damian Williams off of the waiver wire, the hot name this week, along with I'm going to be picking up another tight end as well to solidify my team and hopefully give me some sort of chance. I am the underdog going into this matchup. I think Austin's a 20-point favorite right now prior to me putting in a tight end. So it'll probably be around like 12, 15 points by when all said and done projection wise. But we've had our good matchups in the past. I expect this to be close. I don't expect it to be a blowout either way. But it's definitely an uphill battle for me. Austin is 4-0 and I am 2-2. So with that being said, I am excited. But Austin, how do you feel about this matchup?
I'm very excited. Last week I had a huge win. Really, it was very, very unexpected. My team had a down week. No one scored above 20 points. And then Monday Night Football happened. And my last man up, the great Austin Ekeler, my dad, he's my father.
He's your dad? No way.
That's my dad. I've been high on him the whole offseason. I told people he should be a top 5 pick in drafts. No one listened to me. And he's a fantasy god. Going into Monday night, I was down, I believe, 18. I had Ekeler remaining, and the guy I was playing against had Keenan Allen, and I had no expectations to win. And because Ekeler had that final 20-yard rush at the end of the game, I won my matchup by 2. I was freaking out. I was literally jumping up and down like a little boy, getting excited. I was going absolutely nuts. And you know what? Typically, I don't do this. I'm going to give myself a little pat in the back here. I originally had Tom Brady starting last week. And at the last second, before the Rams-Cardinals game, I actually subbed in Matthew Stafford, who ended up outperforming Brady by, I believe, 8.
Wow.
Stafford had 19.3. Brady had 11.06. Had I kept Brady, I would have lost. Damn. So I'm going to give myself a little pat in the back here. Thinking split decision.
That's not a move probably I would have made just because Tom Brady going up against his former team wants a little bit of redemption. Obviously, the weather probably played a little bit of a role in him not performing, but he was not himself in that game. Although the Rams lost, Stafford still had those garbage time points. But yeah, that was a great decision on me. I remember I have Ekeler in a couple other leagues, and he actually won me my matchup as well. And yeah, it was a crazy way. I'm sure a lot of people can say the same, that they won their matchups just on the backs of Austin Ekeler, and he's going to continue to do that the rest of the year.
It is Daddy Ekeler.
No, that's the name of this episode, Daddy Ekeler.
Daddy Ekeler. That's what he is. He's a monster. He's a god, and people should bow down to him. He is RB2 for a reason. I said he'd finish in the top 5 this year, and so did you for a reason. He is showing us right now. But we'll get into that another time.
Yeah, I said top 3, and he's on that path right now. So
he's on the path.
We love Austin Ekeler here on this show.
Yes, we do. We are big Ekeler fans. But anyway, let's get into our first segment of the show. Are you buying the hype? Jett, take it away.
Yeah, so it's a new segment. We're going to talk about 2 guys that had spectacular weeks this past week and 2 guys that really underwhelmed in their matchups. The first guy we're going to talk about is Debo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers. He's been on a tear to start this season. A lot of people, he was drafted in the middle to late rounds of many drafts. He's currently the wide receiver 3 on the season, 490 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns. That's accounted for 93.9 PPR points, only behind Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill right now. This past week, he connected once Trey Lance come in. He had 36 points, his best game of the year. He beat his first game, which was 32 points. This past week, he had 8 receptions for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has been an absolute beast. Austin, are you buying the hype the rest of the season on Debo Samuel?
Yes, I am. We saw 2 seasons ago, Debo came in, I believe that was his rookie season, came in, did a great job, really showed a lot of potential. He is wide receiver 3 right now on PPR formatted leagues. He's averaging 23.5 points per game. So obviously that's been amazing for Debo owners. But what I take notice of, and I've always been consistent with this, is volume. Debo Samuel has been getting so much volume this year in every single game. He's had at least 8 targets every single week. He's had double-digit points every week. His lowest game this year, I believe, was like a 10.2 game.
10 points, yes.
Right, that was his lowest game of the year. And you know what? After Garoppolo went out last week, honestly, I was a little worried how that would affect Debo with Trey Lance. You know, obviously, you don't really know how a rookie's going to play in this first time with the receivers. But, I mean, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, it did not matter. Debo still got his. And Lance came in and did his thing, hit Debo twice for touchdowns. I believe one of them was like a 76 or 78 yarder. That connection is there, and I expect that to continue. I mean, I said it from the summer even. If Trey Lance were to get the job, I think he's going to be a stud. I think he could be a fantasy league winner this year. So as long as the volume keeps up for Debo, I think he's going to be – you can honestly argue he could end up being a top 10 receiver.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely on that pace right now. For me, I am gonna also buy the hype on Debo Samuel now that Trey Lance maybe starting the next couple of games until Jimmy Garoppolo gets healthy. I think that's only going to increase Debo Samuel's outlook the rest of the way. Coming into the year, everyone thought that maybe Brandon Ayuk could be the number 1. That has not come to fruition. He has struggled all throughout training camp and into the early parts of the season. It's clearly been Debo Samuel as that wide receiver 1. George Kittle hasn't been involved as much in the passing game, so therefore Debo Samuel has been getting all the work. If you have Debo Samuel on your team, I'm sure your team is in a very good position right now due to the fact that he was drafted in the middle rounds. So kudos to whoever took the chance on him. I know there were a lot of people against him coming into the year in large part due to Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers' ability to spread the ball around, but clearly that they're not doing that so far this year. And Debo Samuel, like Austin said, has a very good shot at finishing in the top 10 if this keeps moving along like this.
100%. Honestly, for those of you who own Debo Samuel, if anyone's looking to trade for him or even you're looking to trade him, you value that man where he belongs. He is a top receiver this league. He is an elite wide receiver 1 right now. You put that value on him. You put that price tag on him, and you get what you deserve. That simple.
Exactly. Yeah, couldn't agree less. That's well said. And let's move on to another guy that has kind of been quiet from a fantasy perspective over the last several years since he's come into the NFL and is burst onto the scene this year with the Atlanta Falcons in somewhat of a role that we weren't expecting him to be in. Cordell Patterson, not Mike Davis, had a huge game last week and has been huge so far this season for the Atlanta Falcons. I know I had to deal with him going up against him in a couple of my matchups last week where he exploded and wound up losing my matchups to the teams that I was facing with him. He had 35 points last week, 3 touchdowns, 5 receptions for 82 yards. The number 1 running back finish for this past week. He's been insane he's been getting okay amount of volume, but he's been making do on the volume that he's been getting. He's currently the number 3 running back behind Austin Ekeler and Derrick Henry. While the volume isn't really there yet, like I said, he is taking advantage of it. Mike Davis is getting still more snaps than him on a weekly basis, but Cordell has looked like the better player, and it very well could continue. Austin, are you buying the hype on Cordell Patterson?
I am buying the hype. I mean, listen, is he a running back? Is he a receiver? I don't know. He's both. He's been lighting up so far this year, as you just acknowledged. I mean, look, he's had at least 6 rushing attempts every week. He's had at least 6 targets every week, or since week 1. At least 5 receptions week since week 1. He's a dual threat. Do I expect the touchdown rate to continue? Probably not. Just like Cooper Kupp, I mean, you can't keep that up all year. However, I think as the weeks continue to progress, I think Patterson's role will continue to grow. And I think eventually he'll get more touches. He'll have a higher volume. And frankly, I have no doubts or no issues starting him every single week right now. My lineup, whether he's your RB2 or he's a flex or even a wide receiver, if your league puts him as a wide receiver / running back, I mean, he's a dual threat. He does it both ways. No issue starting him.
Yeah, for me, as great as he's been this season so far, Austin alluded to it a little bit. The touchdowns aren't sustainable, and while he very well could get that volume, Mike Davis is still involved, and the Atlanta Falcons offense as a whole has not looked great, which could hinder his opportunities going forward. For me, if I have him right now, I'm looking to sell high on him to see if I can get a guy that's proven it year in and year out. We have to remember, like, Cordell Patterson has been in the league since 2013. He has 5 touchdowns right now this year. The only other time he had more than 5 touchdowns was in 2018 and 2013. And I think a bulk of those touchdowns were in the return game. He really hasn't been that much involved in the receiving game other than early in his career when he was more of a receiver. It very well could continue if he does get more volume, either in the rushing attack or through the air. He's only getting 6 or so rushes per game and is getting 4 or 5 receptions a game. He has 2 games where he had more than 2 touchdowns. And yeah, Mike Davis has not looked great. I'm pretty sure he still has double-digit fantasy points in every week this season. And with all of that, you still have Calvin Ridley on the team. You still have Kyle Pitts on the team. It's just, for me, it's a perfect opportunity to sell high on him and seeing what you can get, because I don't think Cordell Patterson is going to finish in the top 3, even top 5, or even top 10 by the end of the season.
Well, so you mentioned that the Atlanta offense has not been that good this year. I actually would disagree with you. Since they started getting Patterson more involved, so take week 1, they only put up 6 points, and they didn't really get Patterson involved that much. Since then, they put up 25 against the Bucs. They had 17 against the Giants. However, they fed Patterson, and that's why they're able to win the game. They put up 30 last week against Washington. Since they've incorporated Patterson, their scoring has gone up. I think they realize that they want to get points on the board. They want to move the ball downfield. They're going to have to get Patterson involved. I think, listen, do I agree with you? The touchdown production will drop for sure. Am I opposed to selling high in him? Absolutely not. Because he's been in the league for so long. There's a reason why he has not been relevant for that long. But he may have found his role, his home in Atlanta. They use him the way he should be used. So I think this will continue. However, again, I am not opposed. If you want to sell high in him, by all means do it for someone who's been proven, who's been consistent. But I think he can go either way. But I think he's proven himself.
I mean, if we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons offense as a whole, it has not looked as good in the past, just in large part to Matt Ryan not being the same player we've seen. This is Matt Ryan's lowest yards per attempt at 6.2 yards. It's his lowest since 2013.
Which bodes well for Patterson.
It bodes well for Patterson, but if we're speaking on the Atlanta offense as a whole, it could still hinder his opportunities, even if they do give Patterson more volume. If you look at, this is a metric on playerprofile.com. His supporting cast efficiency is ranked 20th in the NFL at negative 3.87. That contributes to the offense not performing as well. While a lot of Cordell Patterson's production is not going to come from Matt Ryan anyways, it still has a little bit to do with how we can forecast whether Patterson will be able to continue this going forward. Like we've both mentioned several times, the touchdowns will definitely take a dip. It's just if Cordell Patterson ends up being the lead back on this team, right now he is in a committee, I think then definitely should be buying the hype. But I just think that it's not like Cordell Patterson. This is his second year in the league and is going to continue to see an increased amount of work. He's getting up there in age, and to give him like a crazy amount of work out of the backfield is not him. They want to use him more of a gadget role. If he makes the most of those opportunities and it puts up this insane touchdown percentage, that's a different story. But for me, that's just unlikely to happen.
He's been very efficient with his touches, for sure. Do I expect him to be this elite the rest of the year? Absolutely not. Do I expect him to be a good flex, though? Absolutely. I think he could be a league winner as a flex player. I think he could be a steal. But
oh yeah, I mean he's looking like a steal right now, so that's definitely correct about that. But let's move on to some guys that had down weeks this past week, or if you consider a down season, this guy has really disappointed so far this year. But the guy that I want to talk about is Antonio Gibson of the Washington football team. He was drafted supposedly to be an RB1, high-end RB2. He hasn't had an RB finish over 17, and that RB 17 finish was due to a long passing touchdown where he ran for 73 yards. This past week against the Falcons, he only had 16 fantasy points. He has not been as involved as we would have hoped in the receiving game, in large part due to J.D. McKissic is still there. He's RB 17 on the season, but the expectations coming into this were a lot higher. He was supposed to be a breakout candidate, and that is not the case right now. Austin, are you buying the hype going forward?
No, I'm giving up on Gibson in terms of valuing him at a RB1 standard. And I briefly wrote about this in my article last week if you haven't read it. But Antonio Gibson, as you said, is right now RB 17. That is largely due to the fact that he has just not received the volume. Since week one, I think he had actually a pretty good week one. But since week one, he's had 14 carries at most in a game. Since week one, at most, he's had only 2 targets in a game. The volume's just not there. Heineke, frankly, they love him. He's a gunslinger. He wants to get that ball down the field to his weapons. And I don't blame him. The Washington offense looks good for Washington right now. They look explosive, as you saw last weekend. Terry's playing really well. They're getting Logan Thomas incorporated. McKissic's looking good. But really, and it breaks my heart to say it, but Gibson is officially an RB2 unless the volume picks up. It's just that simple. And you should not be if you're trying to trade him or you're trading for him, you either or you should not be asking for anything that is RB1 related or wire one related. Or 2, you should not be trading him for anything higher than an RB1 or wire one. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one. I mean, there's still a very good chance that Washington could give him a little bit more volume going forward. But through 4 games, that has certainly not been the case. And I'm going to agree with you on this one as well. I'm not buying the hype on Antonio Gibson. Unfortunately, he has not lived up to his potential so far this year, and it's looking like that's not going to be the case. I mean, if you get, like I said, the volume is key in fantasy, and for some reason they want to. J.D. McKissic, don't get me wrong, is a great player, and they've been utilizing his strengths. But Antonio Gibson, we can't forget, he was a wide receiver at Memphis, and for some reason, that's not the role that Washington wants to have him in. He has dealt with injuries through training camp in the first couple of weeks of the season, but like Austin did say, he is an RB2 going forward, and it's just unfortunate for a lot of people drafting him in the early stage of their draft are not recapturing the value that they took to spend on him. But yeah, I am not buying the hype on Antonio Gibson.
I don't think you've ever agreed this much ever in fantasy football. So this is a miraculous day. This is
we'll see if it'll continue with this next guy. But so this next guy is a perennial fantasy superstar that has, after a fantastic week number 1, has sort of fizzled off due in large part to his teammates seemingly coming out of nowhere to have better games than him. DeAndre Hopkins of the Arizona Cardinals, after a week 1 performance where he had 26 fantasy points and 2 touchdowns, he has not reached the 20-point mark since week 1. He has a wide receiver 30 finish, wide receiver 77 finish, and this past week, wide receiver 46 finish against the Rams, 4 receptions for 67 yards. This has been a large part, like I mentioned. Christian Kirk has been good. Rondale Moore has had his moments. AJ Green has come out of nowhere to have a few big games.
Even Max Williams, tight end.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Chase Edmonds is getting work out of the backfield.
Connor's getting work.
Yeah, I mean, Hopkins right now is wide receiver 24. He was drafted in the top 5 in many leagues, so this is clearly not reaching expectations at this point in the season. So Austin, with all that being said, are you buying the hype going forward on DeAndre Hopkins?
No, I'm not. Hopkins is arguably, and you can argue this, you could argue he's the best receiver in the league, most talented receiver in the league. You could argue it. I'm not saying he is, but you can argue it. Fact of the matter is, Hopkins last year was amazing because the Cardinals really outside of him didn't have any real playmakers. And Murray kind of had to force Hopkins the ball, just like Deshaun Watson had to do in Houston for a while. This year has been very different. As you alluded to before, the Cardinals have a lot of playmakers now. And they haven't really necessarily needed to give Hopkins the ball to put up 30 points in a game. Like it's not a Hopkins full offense anymore. It's Hopkins centric offense, if you want to call it. Is he great? Yes, but I don't expect him to, be a top 10 receiver. Will he have big games? Absolutely. He's still DeAndre Hopkins. He'll have a few big games, but overall, I think he's a low-end wide receiver 1 or even high-end wide receiver 2, just because the Cardinals they're not looking to feed him all game. Like they're not giving so it's not like Devontae Adams where they just feed him the ball. Murray can make it happen with other guys. So I'm not feeling Hopkins right now. And I think it's going to be a consistent theme.
Honestly, I think you're crazy. I mean, Hopkins, I know it's a totally different offense this year with how they're spreading the ball around, but when it's all said and done, he's still going to be a high-end wide receiver 1. The past 4 years, he has finished in the top 5 with a second-place finish, 1st, 5th, 4th. He's 24th right now. And
2021, man. It's 2021.
It's 2021, but he's had 2 consecutive bad games. He's still the best receiver on this team, and he's still one of the best receivers on the planet right now. And Kyler Murray knows that, and he wants to get the ball to his playmakers. And while Christian Kirk, Rondale Moore, and AJ Green will have their moments, so will DeAndre Hopkins.
More than just Hopkins. That's the difference. He hasn't needed to give Hopkins the ball. He put up 30-plus points last week against the Rams, and Hopkins wasn't really involved. And they still had 30. Like, they don't have to force him the ball anymore. On Houston, that's all they had. Hopkins was the dude. He was the man on that team. Watson knew if he'd not give Hopkins the ball, they were not scoring points. For Arizona, by the way, they don't even have to pass the ball that much if they want to do well. All they do is give it to Connor right now, who's been feasting. Like
I just don't think that while Christian Kirk and AJ Green have had really good games, I mean, we've seen in the past, Christian Kirk has struggled these past 3 years. I know it's 2021, like you just said, but Christian Kirk hasn't finished higher than wide receiver 38. He's wide receiver 30 right now. He's had a few big games, but like I said, when it's all said and done, DeAndre Hopkins will have his big games. It was a similar theme last year. He had a few down games, and then we have a few blow up games, and I expect it to be like that this season. But I still expect him to finish in the top 5, top 10.
I don't think he'll finish in the top 5 at all. Do I think he can finish in the top 10? Yeah. I still consider him a wide receiver 1. I just don't think you can put him in that elite tier anymore because he doesn't need to, they don't got to give him the ball as much every week now. They don't need him to score 30 points a game. And I think, frankly, the best wide receivers are guys that are getting that ball. Look at guys like Cooper Kupp right now, Devontae Adams. They are target machines. Tyreek Hill, I mean, listen, we saw what he had last week. They're getting the ball. Like, they know, like those quarterbacks know if they don't give those receivers the ball, they're not scoring points. The Cardinals don't need to get Hopkins heavily involved like he used to be to score. That's why I don't think he's a top 5 receiver. He's a low-end wide receiver 1. Probably not a wide receiver 2. That's probably a stretch. He's a low-end wide receiver 1 right now. And unless they start giving him more volume, that's not going anywhere.
I think he'll see more volume. I know. I mean, it's 4 weeks. Obviously, it's still a long way to go for the end of the year. We know what Hopkins has done in the past, and I know you keep saying 2021 this, 2021 that, but he's still DeAndre Hopkins. And like I said, Kyler Murray knows what he's capable of. The Cardinals offense know what he's capable of. They're not going to go undefeated. They're 4-0 right now, but they're bound to lose a game or 2 or even more in the next several weeks. And there's going to be games where they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more, and Hopkins is going to be front and center of the passing attack. So.
I don't disagree that Hopkins is going to have a few big games. I'm not denying that.
More than a few.
Just like you're going to win a few games in fantasy this year.
We're talking about DeAndre Hopkins and the Arizona Cardinals right now, not my fantasy team. You think the listeners care about my fantasy team anymore?
No, because no one cares about a team that's awful. No one cares.
Oh God, ready to move on. I think we argued enough on this player.
I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started.
I'm just getting started. Do you have more on DeAndre Hopkins?
Nah, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I just love arguing with you.
Let's get into Thursday Night Football, shall we?
No, let's get I want to get into Thursday Night Football.
All right, so we have a great matchup this upcoming week between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. A ton of fantasy implications in this game. You got Cooper Kupp, you got Matthew Stafford, Robert Woods, we'll see what he does, Russell Wilson, Metcalf, so many big names playing in this game, and it's going to be a good NFL game as well. I'm really looking forward to it. Austin, what are you looking forward to about this Thursday night game?
I expect a light show on Thursday. I expect a shootout. It is going to be fun to watch. You're going to see both teams putting up a lot of points. I expect like a 35-31 game. Right now, the Rams cannot defend anybody. As good as their defense is on paper, against the Seahawks, Russell Wilson's going to come in. He's going to do his thing like he does every year. The Rams are definitely going to come in and forget about last week. I expect a bounce back week from them. 100%.
So this is just another headline that came out before Thursday night's game. Chris Carson is questionable for week 5. They said that they're going to announce his status right before game time. So next in line to take Carson's place would be Alex Collins. Austin, would you trust Alex Collins to plug into your lineup to maybe start as an RB2 at a running back needed team, or maybe just as a flex option?
No, I wouldn't really want to play him, but obviously if you don't have anyone else, if you're desperate, then yes, play him. But I think this is the week that they're going to let Russ cook. I really do. I think they know how explosive the Rams are. It's different against a team like the Niners, who they can run the ball. They can kind of slow it down a little bit. The Rams are explosive. And I think it's going to be a week where Russell Wilson, the game will be won or lost in his hands. And I don't expect Collins to get that much of a workload.
Yeah, so going on the Russell Wilson theme, let's get into some over or unders for this game. So Russell Wilson, according to Yahoo Fantasy, is projected 20.29 points. Over or under of that number?
Over.
How much are you thinking?
I could see him putting up 22, 24. I see him throwing for at least 3 touchdowns, at least 250 yards. I think that puts him already at 22. Actually, exactly 22.
If he who catches those 3 touchdowns, you think?
Tyler Lockett will be the recipient of 2 of them.
Wow.
I promise you right now.
Okay.
Listen, DK Metcalf, he'll have his hands full with Ramsey, and I think they're still going to battle. We've seen Tyler Lockett do this in the past. First 2 weeks of the year, 2 huge games. He's fallen off recently. This is what he does.
He's had some big primetime games in the past.
Yep.
So
this is Thursday Night Football, first Thursday night game on Fox against the Rams. Last year, he lit them up, I remember, in Thursday Night Football. I believe I was also in LA, but I could be wrong. Probably am wrong. But I think this is the week that Lockett comes out of his shell and lights it up.
So over under for Tyler Lockett, 16.19 points. You said he's going to have 2 touchdowns. So
absolutely. He will have 2 touchdowns. He will have at least 100 yards. He'll have 8 catches.
All right, final one for the Seahawks. If Chris Carson plays, over or under 12.70?
Under. Like I said, the Rams got gashed last week by Connor. They're not letting that happen twice. And I frankly, like I said, this game will be won or lost in Russell Wilson's hands. They're going to air the ball out this week. I don't see them really giving Carson that much of a workload, especially because he's hurt. They're probably going to limit his usage, even if he does play. So give me the under.
All right, moving on to the Rams side of the ball. Last week, you nailed your Cooper Kupp over/under projection, so I'm going to give you a little pat on the back on that one. But this week, he's projected 18.8 points going up against the Seahawks. What are you thinking?
Over. Like I said, last week was a down week. I knew it eventually would go down. Cooper Kupp, even though he had a down week last week, fact is he's had at least 10 targets in every single game. The volume's there. He's Stafford's favorite target. The Seahawks have terrible defense. I expect Cooper Kupp to have a huge bounce-back game. I think, just like Lockett, I think he'll have at least 100 yards and a touchdown, maybe even 2. But Cooper Kupp is going to have a monster week.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Cooper Kupp's targets, week 1, it was 10, then it went 11, then it went 12, then it went 13. Maybe we'll see 14 targets in this game, but he's been a target monster.
And even last week at Stafford, had he not been a little off, Kupp probably would have had 20 points last week. He missed Kupp for a probable touchdown. I hit him in the right spot, and it was very unlike Stafford to miss that throw. And for that to happen twice in a row against division rivals, I don't think so.
All right, moving on to the wide receivers here. So I'm looking at statistics right now in the season. Van Jefferson is outscoring Robert Woods by a total of 47.6 to 46. If you had to pick between Van Jefferson and Robert Woods in this game, who do you think scores more points?
Van Jefferson, and here's why. Robert Woods, I believe Robert Woods will have double-digit points. I believe he can even find the end zone, but I think Van Jefferson's going to be the recipient of a couple deep balls.
Okay.
Seahawks are prone to getting beat deep. They cannot defend in the secondary at all, and I think Van Jefferson's going to be hit a lot on like 40-yard, 50-yard bombs this game, and I can see him even find the end zone and breaking away in one of them. So yeah, give me Van Jefferson. And I hate to say it because I like Robert Woods, but Jefferson's been a high flyer.
Yeah, I mean, Sean McVay did come out and say that he wants to get Robert Woods more involved. We'll see if that happens. He has not been involved up to this point. Van Jefferson, along with guys like Deshaun Jackson, have been stealing some of Robert Woods' targets.
Yep. You also saw Dan Campbell say last week, you're going to see a lot more DeAndre Swift, but he was nowhere to be seen last weekend, which was really annoying to me.
Yeah. No, I totally get where you're coming from. But another guy that's been quietly under the radar, consistent when he's been playing, Daryl Henderson. He's projected 17.36 points, over or under?
I think he'll go over. That's only, I think he'll find the end zone just once in the game, and I think that'll be enough to get him over. But if not, then not a shot. I think this will be a Matthew Stafford versus Russell Wilson duel. I do have Henderson scoring touchdown, but if he doesn't, then not a shot.
All right, Matthew Stafford projected 22.14 over. How much over?
A lot over.
You think he exceeds his season high of 29?
Yep.
Really? Wow.
Yep. I think this is going to be his best game of the year, undisputably.
Okay. I mean, he threw for 300-plus yards and 4 touchdowns against the defending champion. So
good. And
I don't know how it could get much better, but it's definitely – the Seahawks have given up the 8th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, so it's definitely not out of the question for Stafford to have a monster game.
Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
All right. So do you have a final score prediction?
Final score, 38-35 Rams.
Wow. I think there's going to be a bunch of points scored in this game. I don't think it's going to be that much. I'm going to go 31-24 Rams. I think there's going to be a ton of fantasy points awarded in this game, and that's great for all the fantasy owners out there. So it's definitely going to be probably one of the more exciting Thursday night games to date. So we are definitely looking forward to that one. But let's get on to our final segment of episode number 9. Bold predictions. You better go bold or go home. Austin, start us off here.
First things first. 49ers versus the Cardinals. Trey Lance getting his first ever start in the NFL. My bold prediction. Trey Lance will outperform Kyler Murray in week 5.
Wow.
He will outscore Kyler Murray.
Wow. You sure about that? Wow.
Positive.
Okay.
You get me on this. Telling you, he will outperform Kyler Murray.
I like it. It's definitely bold, and Trey Lance did look very good in relief last week against the Seahawks. He has the weapons at his disposal. I mean, Kyler Murray, I believe he's still the #1 QB in fantasy right now, but like Trey Lance can get his actually Patrick Mahomes is the #1 quarterback in fantasy, but Trey Lance outscoring Kyler Murray, while it may seem outlandish, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities.
I'm feeling good about it. It's a lock. It's a lock, Jett.
All right, you ready for mine?
Oh, God. Okay.
All right, so now we know that David Montgomery is going to be missing the next 4 to 5 weeks, and now Damian Williams is now the RB1 on this Bears team. And yes, I get their offensive line is awful. Their overall offense is awful, but this week he faces a Las Vegas Raiders team that just gave up a ton of fantasy points to Austin Ekeler and has given up a ton of fantasy points to running backs on the season. Not comparing Damian Williams to Austin Ekeler or Najee Harris, who also had a big game against this team.
Please don't.
But my bold prediction in this game is that Damian Williams will finish as an RB1 this upcoming week. He has a great matchup. He's going to get a ton of volume. The offense is going to continue to improve now that Matt Nagy has handed over play calling duties to Bill Lazor. He was a very hot name off of waivers, and he is going to make do on that promise of gifting back to his fantasy owners for taking a chance on him in waivers this week.
Jett, you continue to
speaking it into existence for my matchup against you this week.
God, Jett. God, man.
Wait for my next one. You're gonna once I get these right, we'll come back on the show.
Blasphemy.
You'll see where I was coming from on this.
Dude, you're giving me a headache. I actually have a headache.
Wait, Trey Lance over Kyler Murray?
You're killing me, Jett.
Trey Lance over Kyler Murray.
Oh my God, that is blasphemy, man.
Trey Lance hasn't started a game in the NFL yet, and you're putting him over Kyler Murray.
Oh my God, you literally sound like Max Kellerman, like Brady falling off a cliff. That's literally like Kellerman saying Brady's gonna fall off a cliff. You sound ridiculous. I hope you know that.
Not at all.
You just compared to Damian Williams to Ekeler.
I clearly said I'm not comparing Damian Williams to Austin Ekeler.
No, you know why
I'm comparing how everybody on planet Earth has ran over this Las Vegas Raiders defense, and why would it not continue?
Okay, difference is, first off, the Chargers are actually a good offensive team. They actually have to respect Keenan, Mike Williams, and Jared Cook. And Ekeler's a pass catcher.
Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet. Now they have Jakeem Grant from the Dolphins.
Right, my bad.
They have no weapons on this Bears team.
I forgot their savior, Jakeem Grant.
The offensive line sucks, but they're gonna throw passes out of the backfield. He's gonna get plenty involved through the air. He's gonna have his rushes. And in relief last week, he scored a touchdown and had 50 or 70 yards once David Montgomery exited the game.
Oh my God! This is why you're 0-4. This is exactly why you're 0-4.
I'm keeping the receipts on this one right here.
Oh my God! You're killing me. For people watching, I am so sorry to hear this.
Give me your next bold prediction. I want to see where you go here.
Oh, you're gonna love this one. My next bold prediction. So, being a diehard Giants fan that I am, you are not ready for this. Giants played Dallas this weekend. You know I'm ready for it. The New York Giants will hold Dak Prescott to under 20 fantasy points on Sunday. In addition, this is not fantasy related, but in addition, Dallas comes in as a 7-point favorite. The New York Giants will not only cover that spread, they will win outright.
Stop that.
They will win.
They had a fluke win. They had a fluke win last week against the Saints.
You are on something, Mr. Rosenstein.
You'll be lucky if you get another win this year.
Come on, puberty beard. Get on board. Come on now. Get on board. Come on, man.
Come on, us.
Speaking.
I get if you just choose one or the other, but to say Dak's going to have under 20 points and the Giants are going to win outright, that's blasphemous.
The Giants know if they're going to win this game, they cannot get into a shootout. Their defense is going to have to show up. Their defense will show up this weekend. Guarantee you.
The Cowboys defense has been pretty good.
Giants offense playing a lot better. They're getting Saquon involved. And the more they get Saquon involved, the better their offense looks.
That's more ridiculous. That's more ridiculous than mine, but whatever.
No, it's not ridiculous. It's logic, Jett.
All right, fine.
Seriously, all that beard go to your brain. I swear. Yeah, what do you? I don't even know. I don't even know what that is. That even a beard?
I know. I want to get to my final bold prediction. Let me get to my final bold prediction.
Is that like your pet, or is that I don't even know what that is.
I like it. I think it's a good look for me. You should try it. Or maybe you can't even grow a beard. I don't even know.
I don't need to. I look good the way I do.
All right, enough about what we look like right now. Let me get to my final bold prediction right here. So let me give a little bit of background on this one right here. The Jacksonville Jaguars play the Tennessee Titans this upcoming week, and DJ Chark is not going to be playing the rest of the year after he suffered an ankle injury Thursday night against the Bengals. Now the best wide receiver on this team, it's not Marvin Jones Jr., it's Laviska Shenault. And my bold prediction is that Laviska Shenault will finish as a wide receiver 1 this week. He's going up against a Tennessee Titans offense that has given up the second most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. They've given up double-digit points to a handful of wide receivers. They've only given up single digits to one notable name, and that was Zach Pascal of the Indianapolis Colts. Laviska Shenault has been getting a ton of targets, and they've been throwing the ball to him more downfield. Now that DJ Chark is no longer going to be playing, Trevor Lawrence is going to look his way a little bit more. Trevor Lawrence has looked a lot better, and they're going up against a team that sucks on defense right now, and I will not be surprised at all if Shenault reaches wide receiver 1 status in this game, especially with the increased usage that he will be seeing going forward. That is not as bold, but it's still very bold. Thoughts?
Okay.
When I nail both of my bold predictions and yours don't even come close, we'll talk on the milestone episode number 10, and we'll see when I get my first win in the Blitz League and I nail both of these bold predictions, we'll talk.
Jett, I gotta say, I didn't realize you were this funny. I didn't even know you had it in you. I've known you since what, 2016?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were this funny. I gotta say, I'm actually impressed.
Spitting facts. That's all I'm doing right now.
Seriously, dude. Like you've gotten funny over the years. I gotta say, maybe it is the beard. Maybe the beard has gotten you funnier. Who knows? Because certainly it's funny looking. All right. Well, I have one more bold prediction.
One more bold prediction, really?
Oh, I'm ready. You're gonna love
picking this one on the spot.
Oh no, I've had this in my back pocket. I saved the best for last because this is going to directly affect you on Thursday night.
Okay.
Thursday night football, first game of the year on Fox on a Thursday. Rams Seahawks, Matthew Stafford, bad week last week, still in 19 points. I said this would be a high-scoring game. I said it would be 38-35. And to get 38 points, the Rams are going to have to score 5 touchdowns. My prediction, Matthew Stafford will account for not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 touchdowns on Thursday night. Cooper Kupp will be the recipient of at least 2 of them. Matthew Stafford, 5 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, 2 of them. Thank you very much.
How is that bold? Just explain to me how that's bold.
Because he hasn't. When is the last time you ever seen him throw for 5 touchdowns?
5, I mean, I know we don't see many quarterbacks throw for 5 touchdowns in the NFL, but that's not like something that never happens.
When's the last time you've seen Matthew Stafford throw 5 touchdowns in a game?
I'll pull it up right now.
When's the last time you threw for 5?
But this is a different Matthew Stafford where he actually has weapons. He carved up the Eagles for 5 touchdown passes back in 2015.
Bro,
he has 4 times he's done it. He's thrown for 5 touchdowns.
Hey, it's not like it happens every week.
Doesn't happen every week, but I think your predictions are very plausible. Mine are actually bold.
No, yours are ludicrous.
No, come on.
You're ludicrous.
I don't think you understood the assignment. I don't think you understood the assignment.
Yeah, hasta la vista. Right? Hasta la vista, right? Oh my God, you are out of your mind, my brother. You're out of your mind. No wonder you're 0-4. No wonder I'm going to kick your ass this weekend.
We'll see about that. I like I said, I am the underdog in that matchup, but my team has shown out before, and this would be a great week to do it, especially that points are now doubled. So I'm looking forward to this week. I really am.
Oh my God, I'm going to mop the floor through this weekend. I literally want to dig you into the freaking ground.
I'm gonna make you eat your words on that. So
I'm gonna make you eat your beard.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lot of beard. It's a lot of beard.
Episode number 9. That was episode number 9. What an episode. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to us go back and forth. We tried to give our insights along the way. Hopefully we helped you guys make better decisions for the week ahead. Austin, do you have anything to add before we get out of here?
By the way, Jett, have I ever told you how much I love you, man?
Oh, I love you too, Austin.
No, I'm actually asking, have I ever told you how much I love you?
No, you haven't.
All right, good. Making sure.
Okay.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
but besides that, again, as I always say, make sure to check out the website. You have any questions, anything you want us to talk about next week, again, it's what we're here for. We will do the research. Leave that up to us. We will answer all your questions, help you with your trades or start sits, waiver wire pickups, whatever you need. And other than that, Jett, any last words?
No, that's all I had. Another great episode. We'll be back for the milestone episode number 10 next week. It's going to be another good one, so stay tuned for that.
Absolutely, guys. Take care.
If you cannot handle the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah, Jett, get out of the kitchen.
All right, guys.